I thought I'd share a design trick or consideration that may be food for thought for those of you that have tiny nurseries or even just backyard gardens where you happen to pot up lots of plants. Perhaps you ordered in a whole bunch of plants that you potted up because you're not sure where you're going to plant them yet. Just a food for thought. One consideration is when you have a large number of potted plants, consider strategically placing them at the boundary between existing garden spaces and where you may want to encroach or expand your garden space. So in this case, for example, I've got all these potted sea kale that are conveniently placed next to the mother plants that I got the rootlets from. And the idea is that as these potted plants move out, and so in our case we're going to be moving them onto the driveway so they're ready for local sales, what will happen is it leaves a relatively weed suppressed area. So I just moved a couple aronia plants from here, and what remains is just a little bit of pretty easy to pull grass, and I can dump some compost here and expand this garden outward. If I wanted to be extra slick with this, one consideration you may want to think about is where that boundary is where you're putting potted plants. Perhaps you lay down some layers of cardboard or newspaper or old leaf bags before you do so it really suppresses it. And just as an example, yesterday there were 10 2-gallon potted plants sitting right here at the margin of where this grass is and where existing gardens continue onward. And so I moved those apricot pots out to the driveway, used a hori to get the last little bits of weeds out, and transplanted in a whole bunch of lettuces and Asian braising greens and mulched the edge. So the pots were able to sit here for a little while, and then we were able to rob another 1.5 feet into the lawn. And so long as we set this into good long-term perennial crops or keep on top of this with mulching and high-density planting, it should be a great way to continually expand our gardens outward. So you can really see that pattern playing out here. Here's some elderberries and grapes getting ready to push just a little further into the lawn. And you can see where I've mowed with our simple pushing reel mower. And now I'm ready to move these American persimmons, oak, and seedling sea buckthorn out to the driveway and pull the last little bit of weeds. And of course I could have sheet mulch with cardboard. All the leaching fertility from every time we watered would have been infiltrating into the soil here. And where these other potted plants were, there's now an easy to weed edge which we can plant out. In this case we put big sprawling summer squash with some kohlrabi behind them, and in the fall we'll set this to some sort of perennial design. We don't need to know what that is just yet. We just know we're slowly robbing lawn in exchange for a place to put potted plants while we wait for them to sell or to plant them out. So just a neat little trick that's been working nicely for us.